Okay, so this section is Thursday for Windows of the Soul, Shemirat Einayim, guarding your eyes, basically, by Rav Avigdor Miller. And I want to point something out. So in the last video, I mentioned how your different senses have different levels. So like your mouth with taste and such and speech, and then your nose with smelling and sense, and then your ears with hearing, and your eyes with seeing, and then ultimately your mind is even higher than that. And we have... So keep that in mind. So eyes of the mind, Thursday. Here's a secondary, however, there's a secondary, and I shouldn't say secondary because it's just as important. There's a second method by means of which we guard our eyes from allowing the wrong things to make their way into our neshama. After all, we need all the help we can get if we're going to succeed at walking the streets today. How can a person walk successfully on the streets today? And so listen carefully to this very important eitzah. When is it that people see things on the streets that they shouldn't? It's only when their minds are empty. The Rambam says that. He says that pictures and thoughts can only enter into an empty mind. And just, as an example, you can see something, there's things that you don't see just because your mind is occupied with something else. And that's actually the whole basis of an optical illusion and magic tricks and stuff like that. But ultimately, you take a child for an example and you tell them to go look for something. They go look for something. It could be right in front of them and they don't even see it because their mind is just not in the framework for them to recognize it. And and ultimately, like, sometimes even using the child for example, they see things that aren't even there. Like, for instance, the one thing that comes to my mind is when I was a child, I always felt like I saw a face on a certain door in the house. And, it's a wooden door and they split the wood and they use both sides of the wood. So it's like a mirror of the wood, the grain of the wood. And it looks like there's a face on it. So as a child, like I see a face in the door, but it's really not there. So our minds are extremely powerful for that. It's like whether they're empty or not, the framework for everything that we have, all the senses that come through. Your mind is an extremely powerful spiritual tool, and you need to learn to recognize that and appreciate it. It's an extremely powerful spiritual tool. It is one of the most powerful things that can give you the success in your life or not. It is the control mechanism that you have in your life, whether you're going to walk down the right path or the wrong path. Regardless of the decisions that happen and the events that happen in your life, your mind is the thing that interprets all of that. Like, for instance, there's a... just share something about my life. I mean, I'm at one of the lowest positions that I've ever had in my entire life. Financially, even having to come out here to Missouri. And it's an extreme struggle, and I think a lot of people would have a very, very difficult time with something like that. But there's a concept in Hasidut called Yerida Tzorach Aliyah, so a descent for the sake of an ascent. And that means that's how Hasidut interprets the low points in your life, whether they be spiritual, material, physical, any of that. And that if you harness that appropriately with your mind and your entire neshama, then that's the harnessing power to actually rise up as well. And it's all preparation. And whether or not you get to the final destination of that ascent that that is allotted to you is ultimately dependent on how you perceive that with your mind and with your eyes. Like seeing with your eyes, I mean, it's opening up something completely different. So it's even like the idea that you're to see the things in your life, the tiny little events that lead up to something that basically unlocks. It's just a path. This event corresponded, this event corresponded, this event corresponded, and this thing happened. And this thing that happens over here, it would not have happened if every one of these things down the line didn't happen. And there's something that I'll share in the future here, but it's exactly what this is. You'll see this if you have to be sensitive in your life and learn how to recognize these points. But all sorts of things in your life will line up, and there's no coincidences. They're all there for a purpose. Every action in your life is there for a purpose. Every phone call, every turn on the road, everything is there for a purpose. So So don't you see when a house is left empty, so all kinds of vagrants, all the lowest people try to get in. They want to squat there, and once they're there, it's very hard to get them out. They make themselves comfortable and they think they belong. The same thing with your head. When your head is vacant, then all kinds of stupidity will enter your mind. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so an empty head will not remain empty forever. All the low sights of the street will come in. And therefore, staring at the cement is not enough, because no matter how much you're looking at your feet, sights and thoughts will make their way into your head. It's impossible otherwise. And so you must have something to take their place, because when your mind is filled already, then nothing can enter your mind at that time. It tries, but it immediately bounces out, because it's already full. The Yetzer Hara comes knocking on your door, but your mind tells them, I'm sorry, this place is already occupied. It takes work to learn how to do that, but there is no option. You must fill your mind with good ideas. It's not easy, but it's possible. You have to learn what to think about. It's not a bad idea to walk with a little notebook where you have written down there good things to think about, and from time to time you take a look and remind yourself, I want to think about this. I want to think about that. When you take a small mishle along, like a small proverb along with you, and think about a pasuk, or a verse in Mishle, the book of Proverbs, every block another pasuk, another verse, or a notebook with ma'amare chazal, like words of chazal, and think about them, phrases and sayings of our sages. When you come to the corner, forget about it. Look right, look in left, and scurry. But as soon as you reach the safety on the other side, go back to your noble thoughts, and your mind becomes an occupied place. That's the counsel for people who want to succeed at guarding their eyes and protecting their souls. Take some idea of Torah and keep it there as much as possible. Play with it always. Remind yourself of it while you're in the street, and toy with it. For instance, think about Yetziat Mitzrayim, the Exodus from Egypt. Don't think it's a silly idea. Think of Yetziat Mitzrayim as frequently as possible. Think of Dam. That Makkah, so Dam is blood, so the Makkah is the punishment, where sometimes we say the plague of blood that caused all Mitzrayim to fall into confusion. Zephardea, that's the frogs. Kinim, like the animals and things like that. Make pictures in your head of the Mitzrayim running around like chickens without heads, like chickens with their heads cut off, right? Think of all the makot, all the plagues. Play over the scenes in your head. You think it's something that's not a real solid Torah thought. You think it's something that's not a real solid Torah thought. Absolutely it is. Then when your mind is full of the 10 makot, the 10 plagues, or the 10 punishments on the Egyptians, add some more thoughts. Think about Kiryat Yam Suf, the Sea of Reeds. Many people, some very from, they daven through these sections in the morning and evening, and don't think once about Kiryat Yam Suf. A pity. You have to picture Kiryat Yam Suf. Just think of that. Like the same term is used in Abraham's blessing. When God blesses Abraham, he says your children will be like the sand on the seashore. And what seashore is he even talking about? It's interesting. It makes me remind me of Yam Suf all the time when I read that, and then the section about Yam Suf. It's a very powerful, the destruction of the enemies of Israel and the miracles that happen. It's an amazing thing to read through. Here's a Yam, a sea. It's open, it's dry enough, and Bnei Israel passing Basha on dry land in the middle. And here comes Paro with a tremendous army, chariots and horsemen and all foot soldiers. We weren't armed, we weren't an army, and now they came chasing after us, and they're not coming to say hello. They wanted blood, and suddenly, whoosh, water came over on top of them. All of them were buried under the waves. And you know, and something else to picture is what Pharaoh did. So Pharaoh, he was the first Pharaoh that it says that he harnessed the 2 horses to his chariot to double his arrogance. And then whenever he chased after Bnei Israel in wilderness, he hitched up a 3rd chariot to increase his obstinacy on top of what he already had. So that's a picture to see what's going to change your neshama. And not only that, now your mind is too busy for the foolish and wicked sights surrounding you. You're not on King's Highway anymore. You're with Moshe Rabbeinu at Yam Suf. So try that next time you're on the street. Suppose you're walking outside. Say to yourself, from here to the end of the block, I'm going to think about the man. For 40 years, Food fell from the sky. Imagine an entire nation of millions being fed in such a spectacular manner. What a sight. What did they think in that generation when they saw every morning that white substance waiting for them? A tremendous sight. Think about that for one block. Thought about that. It's a good idea. Once I took a walk with people. I used to talk to them, and we worked on this. I said, from now until the end of the walk, we'll think about Korach. How the earth opened up its mouth because Korach opened his mouth up against Moshe. The earth opened its mouth and they all went down. Ooh, wow. It was a terrible sight. What a scene. So from here to the end of the block, we're going to think about how the earth opened up and swallowed Adat Korach, the company of Korach. Then the next block, we thought about a different nace and different miracle. As we walked a few blocks, we went through a few nisim, miracles. We were walking and thinking. We weren't seeing anything on the street because we were seeing with the eyes of our minds. Our heads were occupied. There's no end of good things in this world to think about. Not only the nisim that we did for our nation, we think about the nisim we're doing for you right now. Think about what he does for you. How lucky you are. You don't have this illness or that illness. You don't have cerebral palsy. You don't have leukemia. You don't have cancer. You don't have a tumor on the brain. You don't have diabetes. You know how many things you don't have? There are tens of thousands of things you don't have. If you wish, you can carry a list in your pocket of things you don't have and take it out from time to time and think how lucky you are. It's Maytime now and you breathe in the air. It's perfumed air and you thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You think how much fun it is to walk. My knees bend without any chafing at the joints. Hashem is causing my heart to beat and my blood is circulating inside me in wondrous fashion. My kidneys are functioning, they're purifying my body. My brain is receiving messages from outside the world. At the same time, it's arranging all the affairs of my body. It's such a simcha. Why should you be that lucky? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is being kind to you. And so you're walking outside, and what's in your head? You're so happy to be alive. That's how to practice walking in the street. There's no reason that the mind should be empty and allow the wrong thoughts to enter. If you train yourself to fill your mind with good ideas, and you're thinking all the time about these right ideas in the street at home, then you won't have time for interest in the Yetzar Hara. Little by little, your mind becomes full of Torah thoughts, and then it's much easier to exclude all the silly and false and wicked sights. You'll exclude them from your mind, and you'll keep your mind pure for the service of Hashem. And the service of Hashem, just keep that in mind, because ultimately, a lot of times, we even occupy our minds with things, the service of ourselves, our labor, our jobs, and everything else that is just temporary. It's passing. We try and conjure up these ideas of what we're going to do in the future for work and all sorts of things like that. It's like, doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So hopefully you can take that into your week. Take care.